Good morning. Thank you for attending today's SCORE webinar on driving traffic to your website, tips, tricks, and strategies. Our presenter today is Carrie Baskin, and I will first give a couple introductory slides and then we'll get to it. For those of you who are not familiar with SCORE, SCORE was formed in 1964 as a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. In Chester and Delaware County, we have about 100 volunteers who are here to help you with your questions on your small business. Our mentoring and our education programs are available at no cost. We're here to help you start up your new business or advise your existing business with mentoring and educational services. My name is Adam Schubert and I will be your moderator today. Couple rules of engagement for today's program. This program is being recorded and will be made available to you in a follow-up email after today's session's over. All participants have been placed on mute. Please put any questions you have in the Q&A box, and we will be taking them at the end of today's presentation. If you have any comments, which would be information you want to share with the other participants or resources you suggest may be useful, those can go in the chat box. We'll have a poll at the end of today's webinar, and appreciate your feedback so we can continue improving our programs. Before we get started, today's presenter, Carrie Baskin, is the managing partner of the marketing department in Malvern, Pennsylvania, a website, SEO, and digital marketing agency. He's been in the industry for over 40 years with both national and local companies, has developed many products, and is a frequent webinar presenter for our SCORE chapter. With that, I would be happy to turn the program over to Carrie.
Very good. Thank you so much. Let me just turn off my camera here. I guess I have to stop the share to do that. All right. And share my screen again. Okay. Very good. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I thank you all for coming today to learn some more about how to drive traffic to your website. Kind of excited. This is a very exciting topic because in today's world, the website is oftentimes the centerpiece of everybody's marketing strategies, and it's the principal way that they try to get leads and drive revenue in their business. And there are really many different ways that you can utilize marketing to drive traffic to your website. And we're going to focus in on several of them today. But before we dive into the actual core strategies that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to introduce a little bit about some things that are kind of relevant to kind of planning the marketing strategies around your website, and such things as buyer persona and a few other elements. And then we'll talk about the 6 different types of website traffic, because in a sense, you're trying to figure out what kind of traffic am I trying to get it and where do we want it to come from before we jump into the actual approaches that you can take. And then I'll share with you a short way. I actually have a modeling way here where you can actually calculate how much traffic you need for your website to meet a revenue goal. So with that, we'll jump off. So before you really get into thinking about marketing and marketing strategies and such, you really should spend time to think about your ideal customer's buyer persona. So buyer persona is that thing that describes who your customer is, what information they're trying to capture, where they access information, the kind of content preferences they have, and what kind of problems you can solve for them and how you can meet their needs. So that's getting into things like what they like and dislike, some of their demographics, what's their age, their gender, their income level, that class of information, and where and how they're accessing information. This is really kind of critical to any strategy today, because knowing where your customer is getting the information that they need on the internet or outside of the internet is really important and critical to being successful with any marketing approach that you might want to take. And if they are doing things on the internet, where are they spending their time on the internet? Are they very centric to the social channels, or are they very more interested in the news channels that are out there, et cetera? And understanding what they read, what videos they watch, what podcasts they listen to, all of these things, all of these insights will help you create a much stronger set of marketing strategies that are more likely to work, because we're not trying to drive traffic to our website. We're trying to drive quality traffic to our website, and quality traffic is really getting traffic from the most ideal, most likely customer and prospect that is more likely to buy from you and even exchange information on your website with, like, for example, leaving their email in exchange for a piece of content. So you must understand their buyer personas before you can actually have any kind of successful strategy on the internet and your website. But there is a challenge here, because we're all familiar with I hope most of you, if you're old enough, familiar with the movie Field of Dreams, where the big idea behind that was build it and they will come. And if you build this baseball field, the players will come. Unfortunately, building a website in of itself does not generate traffic. There is too much competition in the market. So it's really almost impossible to just build a website and then suddenly it's there and suddenly it's generating enough revenue for you right out of the gate. It can happen. I have seen it happen in rare occasions, but by and large, if you want to drive traffic to your website, you will have to market your website. And traffic or website visitors, kind of synonymous terms there. So why do we need traffic? Well, I think that there's a couple of different ways to think about this. One is that roughly, and there are many studies that have been written about this, so it's a pretty qualified statement to say that more than 90% of the time, people will go to your website and look at your website before they would get on the phone and call you, regardless of how they came to know about you. So without a website, it's really hard to build trust in the marketplace today. I'll give a personal experience. I'm looking for a new physician, and I was given a referral to somebody, but they don't have a website. So it's kind of challenging to figure out, what kind of affiliations they have, what hospitals they are affiliated with and such. So it's making the decision to use them kind of challenging. So it's really important to have a website to build trust, to create that connection, that first communication, that first impression. All that comes from that first visit. And again, 90% of the time or more, people will go to your website to get it. So one big part of the website traffic is building trust, right? Once you have some trust, then the second part of the process would be to capture their email in a way that allows you to turn that visit into a lead. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that, and a couple of core strategies that make that possible. But if you don't capture an email, then it's really not a lead unless they pick up the phone and call you. But we know that most people will visit a website 3, 4, 5 times before they actually make that decision to engage with you. So having strategies on the website that keeps them coming back and generates a form, provides them a form to fill out to generate a lead, even if they're not quite ready to buy, is a critical part of the process of utilizing your website once the traffic is there. So it's not just about getting traffic, it's getting a conversion once they are on the website is part of the approach. So what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the kinds of traffic that we have. And these are based on really on how Google Analytics defines traffic sources, right? So you can have direct traffic, paid traffic, other traffic, which we'll talk about, social traffic, organic traffic, and referral traffic. And not all of referral traffic is good traffic. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So the most basic and straightforward kind of traffic is what's called direct traffic. So that simply just means that someone goes to the browser, types in www.companyname.com, and your website magically appears, right? That's called direct traffic. Or sometimes people will bookmark in their favorites bar in the browser links to your website as well. If they're a frequent visitor, like perhaps you're putting up blogs and they want to be readers of your blogs, or they come back every month to listen to your latest podcast. So sometimes people will bookmark you. So either one of those kinds of traffic is, by Google's definition, called direct traffic. The other kind of traffic is paid traffic. So paid traffic is coming from ads that Google is seeing on the internet. So if you're selling products and you're on Amazon or Etsy or any one of those platforms and you get a click through from there, that's considered a paid. If you are doing any kind of social media advertising, if you're doing what's called remarketing ads, which is somebody visits your website, cookie is installed on the website, and then every time you're on the internet for the next 2 or 3 weeks, you magically see ads that are associated with something you were searching for information on yesterday. So that's called a remarketing ad. And then there are straightforward Google ads that come up at the top of the search result. Any one of these that you click through will result in Google counting it as a paid search form of traffic. And any kind of ads that you're running should not go to your homepage. Actually, they should be set up to go to a landing page. Another is other traffic. So other traffic is, technically speaking, not a Google term. It's what we call other traffic because we set up something on your Google Analytics that allows us to track traffic that is coming from your map, your Google map, if someone clicks on a Google map to find your business. And the reason we do that is if you're a reasonably large company and getting a pretty high volume of traffic, the chances of the Google map traffic being pretty high proportion of your traffic is pretty low. But if you're a local business, a plumber, electrician, a retail store, or just a small business who services clients locally for one service type or another, the chances are that the amount of traffic coming to your website from a map could be significantly high. And if we don't segment it out separately, then that oftentimes Google will treat that as organic or referral, or even sometimes social traffic in the Google Analytics. So it creates kind of a distorted view of the data. So we actually go into the Google Analytics and create a category that we call other traffic. But I just want you to know that this is something that has to be done manually, but a good idea to do if you're a small business, to be able to figure out how many people are coming to you because they're clicking on the Google map. The other kind of traffic is social traffic, and there are hundreds of social channels out there. These are some examples of some more popular ones like Instagram and Flickr and Reddit and TikTok, etc. And the idea here is to post content on these sites with links to your website. So anytime someone clicks on that link, it gets counted as social traffic. And then we have organic traffic. That means anybody that clicks on your website from the title tag that's sitting up here or your URL, it's kind of synonymous on the search result. If anybody clicks on one of these, then it's counted as organic traffic. And organic traffic, along with referral traffic, is really the thing that you should try to be most focused on, because over the long term, it will yield the highest return on investment. Now, there's not just one type of referral traffic. Unfortunately, it's kind of a complex thing, but The simplest way to think about referral traffic is it comes from what's called a backlink. A backlink means that the people are on someone else's website and click on a link on that website that takes them to your website. So the more backlinks you have, Google kind of treats a backlink as a vote. The more votes you have on the internet, the higher your domain authority is going to be. Domain authority means simply that the likelihood, the probability of coming up in a search result for a given search term. So the idea here is to get good referral traffic. So the highest quality, best kind of referral traffic is coming from quality sites where you are doing guest blogging, industry publications, magazines, newspapers, or articles or blogs that come through relationships where maybe you have a colleague or a friend who has a website that is letting you put a blog up there and it links back to you, or public relations on the internet and such. These are all high quality links, so we call them SEO gold, search engine optimization gold. These could also come from directory links, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as a strategy in a minute. But directory links are basically, there are thousands of directories out on the internet, and any citations that you have on these directories are help you. And for local businesses, citation management is a critical core strategy for coming up in local search results. And then there might be thousands of directories out there, but there are probably only 10, 20, 50, 100 directories that are actually focused in your specific industry for one reason or another. And those are ones that you really want to try to also get into and manage. So these are all good forms of referrals that will help your domain authority and generally give you more quality leads. There are also low quality referral traffic that might come from, like, remember I said there are thousands of directories out there. Not all of them are very helpful. What's really only helpful for you is higher quality from niche directories that are in your market, or some of the core ones, which we'll discuss in a few minutes. Getting guest blogs on other people's websites is not always very good, but and it's getting to be less so over time. But taking a blog that you've written and repurposing the same blog and getting it published on many sites, and there are actually service companies out there that promote that as a service, is not a good value. It's actually a waste of money to utilize those services, because Google really primarily only recognizes the first instance that a piece of content appears, whether it's an article, a blog, any kind of download content that you might put on your website. Those are really only recognized as the first time that it's posted. And every other time it appears on the internet, it's pretty much ignored by the search engine. So there's no value really in this, and spending time, money, and resources at that strategy is really counterproductive, okay? And then you can have relationship links on other websites, like your vendors, your suppliers, your subcontractors, referral partners, chambers of businesses and business association sites. These have limited value. They're not dangerous. They won't hurt your rankings, but they just won't add any domain authority. So we consider these as low quality backlinks. And then there are basically bad backlinks. Paid links using third-party services to heavily syndicate the same blog across many sites. Again, this is not productive. It is not going to help you, and it can, in some cases, lower your rankings with Google. Comment spam is not good, so on the back end of your website, you should be managing and controlling the spam very carefully, and don't allow people to comment on your blog posts and content without controlling whether or not it's going to get posted on the blog. So this should be set up in a way to control that. And then links from non-relevant websites, right? If it's not in your industry, it's not in your market, it has absolutely no value to you at all. Okay. So now that we understand what kinds of traffic there is, Let's dive into, and I'll kind of slow the pace down now and kind of get down into some core strategies that you can do to drive traffic to your website. First one we're going to talk about is citation management. Now, this is really only relevant and critical if you are a local business. If you are selling, 80, 90%, 70% of your business is coming nationwide and only a small percentage of your business is local, it's okay to do this. It still helps you with the local business. But if most of your business is coming as a local business, then this is a critical part of your strategy for driving traffic to your website. So what's being viewed here is the ecosystem of the directories out there. And as I said before, there are literally thousands of directories, but there are different types of directories out there. One of these is called data aggregators, which are, in this illustration of the ecosystem, these large circles. So there's InfoGroup, there's Moz, there's Axiom, if you're following my mouse, there's Neustar, there's Factual, and of course, there's Google, right? Google has what they call their Google Business Profile, which used to be called Google My Business Listing. So it's the same thing. But what's happening is in a local search, Google's role is to deliver a search result that most accurately reflects the searcher's intent. And they don't want to put up a business in a search result if they're not sure if business is real or it's an accurate listing, right? So what these arrows are trying to show, all sort of pointing into the center here where it says Google plus local, is Google is looking at all of these directories and saying, is this really their phone number? Is this really their address? Are they really located in this location? Is this really their fax number? What are their business hours? If you have business hours posted on some directories that are different than other directories, and you're outside the business hours on some search results and inside the business hours, you are confusing Google, and that will degrade the likelihood of them putting you up in a local search result. So Google's trying to aggregate all this citation information in the local search accuracy. So the challenge is to get these directories to be accurately reflecting your company name, your address, your phone numbers, your hours of operation, your website URL, etc. Now, how do you do that, right? Because nobody has time to go out and try to manage all this information. So the data aggregators are a place where the many thousands of other directories oftentimes will pull their data from. So that's one way of doing it. But we actually utilize and recommend using software resources. There are software tools out there, software service providers out there. There are three examples here. There's Moz, there's WhiteSpark, BrightLocal. And what they help you do is propagate your data across this ecosystem in a cost-efficient way. And then you can expect to spend around $900 to get the basics done. And then if you're trying to identify the top 25, 30, 50 niche directories that are in your specific market, that'll cost you another $300–400 of time to get that kind of work done as well. So again, if you're a local business, this is a core strategy for helping drive traffic to your website. Social media is another one way to increase traffic to your website by posting content there on the website, and that content would incorporate your website URL, and then when it gets shared with others in your social sphere, that will help move the traffic to you. One of the more popular, and I'll just highlight, as I mentioned earlier, there are dozens of social channels out there, but most of you, I think, are, if you're active on social media today, are oftentimes active with Facebook. But I would argue right now, if you are putting a lot of time, money, and resources into Facebook with the goal of trying to drive more traffic to your website, you would actually probably do better if you redirected those resources and that investment into TikTok. TikTok is now averaging about 1 billion users every day. You don't have to know how to sing, dance, or lip sync in order to put a video on TikTok. And primarily, if you're using it for a business purpose, you're more than likely to want to make a video that has a demonstration or an educational element to it. These videos can be 15 seconds to up to 10 minutes long. Trying to get inside a minute or two is probably best. You can use hashtags to get those keywords out there that people are topically looking for, and make sure that you use your geographic location as one of those hashtags. And then reuse the videos on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So whatever you're investing in TikTok has some reusable value, and a good time to post is early morning and evening. And the algorithm, and the reason I'm advocating reconsidering this is the algorithm is focused on organic reach beyond followers, where today Facebook is kind of restricting the reach of your posts. Sometimes as little as 5 or 10% of your followers are actually seeing your posts, where the algorithm structure of TikTok is actually trying to reach beyond followers. So you can get a pretty good view of what's happening out there. And it's really helpful way to, I think at this time, to be driving more traffic if you are investing in social media. And the other thing is TikTok as a channel platform right now is pulling traffic from people with the highest level of income, household incomes, and is spending more time on TikTok than the other social channels. So it is really, I think right now, the best place to be if you're trying to drive traffic to your website through a social media platform. But social media posting is not the only strategy that you can utilize to get your name out there, get some presence, and get some traffic. One is to join or create a social media group and get active by posting comments and feedback on there. You can also monitor and contribute to conversations your ideal customer is having by use of social listening tools. So if you have a little bit more budget, you can take this approach. Google Alerts, though, doesn't charge. There's TalkWalker, there's Digimind, there's several others beyond what's here. And this will go out there and listen to who's talking, and then you know where people are listening to and what to get there. You can also pay influencers to post and promote your business product on their social media sites, as is not necessarily inexpensive, but certainly an option. So now I want to talk about something that's not so focused around the internet as much as another ways of thinking about driving traffic. But I believe that you need to build relationships online, but also offline. So we talked about it from a social media point of view, is replying to comments and reposting content and tagging people and let people know that you've mentioned them in their posts and such. Well, that's a good way to build relationships online and getting personal. But you can also get away from some of the social channels and look into what these called knowledge platforms like Quora and Reddit and Answers. Is likely that your ideal customer is spending time on these platforms, and you can go out and look at these questions and get into the conversation, and that creates opportunities to get your website domain URL as part of the conversation and viewed by others. So that's a nice way to do it. It's basically free. You go on these platforms, you sign up for them, you follow questions that are in your domain expertise, and then be responsive to those questions. You can build relationships offline. So one way that I like is to ask clients for online reviews. If you have a high preponderance of 4- and 5-star reviews, you are likely to drive traffic to your website because people are looking for qualified sources that other people say are good so that they can trust your brand. You can ask clients for referrals, okay? because 90% of the time or more, any referral that comes from a client, the prospect will visit your website before calling you. So the idea here is to have a proactive campaign, a proactive process for asking every client for referrals as soon as the transaction is complete. Of course, it's incumbent on you to deliver high quality, because if you don't do that, you won't get that referral, you won't get that review. And then another strategy that I rarely see used, but I think is an extremely powerful one, is to build what I call a vendor referral network. Okay, so I'll give you a case study in my case. So I use a non-competing business serving my ideal customer, is IT service management companies, right? These are businesses who provide, desktop support, IT support for their local clients, but they don't do website development. So when their clients need a website or are having problems with their website, they'll refer them to me. And I've had a number of IT service management companies that are basically high quality, highly qualified referrals that 90% of the time turn into revenue. And it's really great because you're not competing with them, they're not competing with you. They see value in what you are offering to their clients, so they're highly motivated to make that kind of referral. The other is to join a business networking group. I've been a member up until just recently. I've been a member of BNI for more than 10 years. BNI is a Business Networking International, which is a professional networking organization. And over that time period of 10 years, nearly 20% of my revenue was attributable to that relationship. And that's all about being personal, right? Every time you get a referral from them, that gets people to your website, they look at your website, they make the call, you get connected. But it's not a cold lead, right? Because someone else referred them to you. And I think these are two often overlooked strategies for pushing traffic to your website. Another one about getting personal is email traffic, right? Email marketing to me is a very, very low cost, high ROI way of driving traffic to your website. It's low cost because it's easy to do yourself. You use a platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact or any one of, there's actually dozens of platforms that are out there that you can utilize, some with each with their own pros and cons. But for the small business, Constant Contact and MailChimp are quite affordable. In fact, MailChimp has a free version for I think up to 2,000 emails. You may have to verify that because I haven't checked that number recently, but you can have up to 2,000 emails in your database and communicate with people. It's also low cost because it's pretty easy to do yourself. You can generate a newsletter once a quarter. You can think about the seasonality of your business or elements that are promotable to your business and periodically put promotions in your emails. You can create useful and quality content for your client base that gives them a reason to trust your email. When they see it, oh, I got another useful piece of information coming, I'm going to read this email. But you always want to make sure that whatever you're doing in the email is linking back. The meat of what you're providing is sitting on the website, and the email is just the teaser that gets them to click on the link that takes them back to the website. So an important strategy for growing your business and using email marketing is to continually grow your email list. Then is advertising. So you can do online advertising. There are many different strategies for online advertising. If you have a product, physical product that you're selling, then you can run your shopping ads through the various platforms that are out there. Remarketing ads are, generally speaking, pretty inexpensive. They work better for physical product and services, but still I've seen them work for services as well. It's a nice low-cost way to promote your business, because a remarketing ad only appears if someone was out on the internet searching for your for that particular product or service. So Google knows that there's an interest there. So you kind of get over that first hump, because the biggest challenge with advertising is, with any form of advertising is that when people see your ad, you as the advertiser have to hope that at the time that they're seeing the ad, they have a need, that the timing is right. The advantage of the remarketing ad is they've already expressed the need, because they've been out there on the internet searching for it, and Google knows that, so they display the ad at that time. And then there are display ads on social media. Again, I'll point out TikTok. TikTok right now is actually less expensive platform for advertising than Facebook and Instagram. And Facebook has always been less expensive than, say, LinkedIn and Twitter. So right now, TikTok is not only a better platform for the social side of things, it's also a more cost-efficient platform for social media advertising. And then you can get on the display network. So like, for example, Google's display network is thousands of distribution centers. Like, if you run an ad, a display ad on on Google, it could appear in the New York Times, the Huffington Post, and thousands of other places on the internet. Then there are search ads, which can be done on Google, on Bing, on Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. All the search engines basically allow advertising, and they can be text ads or real-time advertising. And the nice thing about search ads is you really only pay if it's been clicked on, right? So it doesn't cost you anything to have the ad displayed. So your brand is being displayed even if someone isn't interested enough to click on it, but you only pay when they click. And then a very effective form of advertising is using pre-rolls, so which can appear on YouTube or on Xfinity or Verizon display networks. So pre-roll, they add displays before whatever video is being displayed to watch. And always, regardless of the type of advertising you're doing, you always want to point the ad to a specific landing page, not to your home page. And don't forget, the more traditional forms of advertising. In some markets, they still are effective. And in some markets, they are very effective, and some markets, they are not. So it really depends on your industry and your budget and whether or not this is a good strategy for you at all. And finally, we'll talk about optimizing. So optimizing is an investment. So unlike advertising, the previous few slides, advertising is something you pay for now and you get the benefit now. But once you stop advertising, the benefit is gone, right? You can't generate any more leads or traffic from those marketing channels unless you're actually actively advertising on them. So a way around that is to use search engine optimization as a strategy to make your website come up in organic search results, because that is the best way to drive traffic to your website over time without having to pay for advertising, okay? But in order to, for that strategy to be successful, and again, optimization takes time, okay? This is something that you would be investing in for several months to a year. But once you get to that threshold, the return on investment is pretty durable and will continue to pay dividends and drive traffic to your website without having to pay for online ads or any other form of advertising. So website optimization involves something called technical SEO, where you're looking at the website structure and technologies that ease understanding and use of the search engines and human visitors. And there are many different strategies that are required to implement that. And then the cornerstone of your optimization is once the website is technically structured to communicate with the search engine, is then putting up content on the website. And this goes back to understanding your buyer persona, what content are they looking for, what questions do they have, what information needs do they have, what information do they need to research and search in order to make decisions to buy from you. So once the website is technically correct, then the next step in the next phase of optimization is getting the content right. So what unique information demonstrates your expertise? What information demonstrates your and differentiates you from your competition? What content helps you target your ideal customer? And this really kind of gets down to what are they searching for online? And understanding how and what they search for is the key that opens the door to successful content, okay? You have to write for your customer, don't write for the search engine. It's a mistake that we see people make occasionally. And then the right content will drive high quality traffic that converts. And the kind of traffic that you're thinking in terms of is what's known as long tail searches. So it's basically asking the full question as a phrase. And it oftentimes starts with what are the common frequently asked questions that your clients are asking you during the sales process. If they're asking you in person, then they're searching for that kind of information online. And that's really the starting point of how you can kick this off. And then beyond that is using a variety of software tools that allows you to analyze what keywords are working for your website, what keywords are driving traffic to your website, what keywords are your competitors' traffic being driven by, and what search terms are your ideal customers on the internet looking for. So that requires software and analysis and studying and research to figure all that out, which is why this whole process takes several months to a year to get there. And there's data that show that once you have more than 100 pieces of content on your website, you will get a boost in traffic to your website. And you say, well, how do I get 100 pieces of content on my website? Well, if you blog twice a week, in a year's time, you'd have 100 pieces of content on your website. And then once we have the content, then we want to market that content and promote it out to high quality, relevant sources that are willing to vouch for you and vouch for your brand with backlinks and mentions, all of which will increase your domain authority. Last thing I want to talk about is, well, how do I figure out how much traffic do I need, right? So this is a mathematical modeling process. So if you start with a goal of, say, let's say 400 visits per month to your website, as an example, and we convert, say, 3% of those people will convert to a lead. Well, that basically means they filled out a form on your website, and now you've got 12 people out of that 400 are leads. If you are able to convert 50% of them to actual sales opportunities, which we'll call a marketing qualified lead, and that would mean you had 6 real leads. And if your close rate is 50%, then that would mean that you've got 3 orders out of that 400 visits to your website. And then you can calculate out what the average order value is and whether or not you're getting to your revenue goal. So you can model it like this, just keep increasing the amount of traffic to get to the revenue goal that you're trying to get to, or improve your conversion rates, or improve the close rate. So doing this kind of modeling will also point out where your weaknesses are in the sales traffic and how the traffic is being utilized. So let me give you the 6 key takeaways from this, and we can jump into some questions. So in order to get more website traffic requires an optimized website, rich in original content, to make use of a mix of online, offline, and personal strategies, reaching and connecting with your ideal customer, not just everybody, you want quality traffic. The flexibility and freedom to test every strategy to see what works and using data to drive your decisions. Budgeting enough marketing to drive enough traffic to meet your revenue goal. and proactive marketing strategies and ongoing management to ensure that all those different forms of marketing complement and coordinate with one another so you get a compounding value over time. Very good. Adam, I guess I'll say what are the questions?
Okay, so everyone, please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box. So far, we have just one question, and that is, what proactive strategies would you recommend to get your blog posts on editorial backlists? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a challenge, of course, because there's a lot of competition for that. But one way is there is a platform out there, I think it's called Halo, help out a reporter today, something like that. You can search it, but it's helpareporter.com. I think it might get you there. You can Google it, but every one of the reporters out there is using the internet to do research on their articles that they're writing, and there's a platform where reporters will post questions looking for subject matter experts in the field. So Help a Reporter is one way of doing that. Another way is looking at where your competition is getting that kind of editorial support, and then reaching out to those editors, because you already know that they're posting content in that domain of subject matter. And that is another way that you can try to drive that kind of traffic as well.
Okay, another question. Do you think niche is worth the money for marketing a school?
A school?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you need students as your revenue source, if you're a private school, then yes, I think getting into niche directories would be an important strategy, and understanding what makes your school unique and what's the buyer persona, what are those parents looking for, and understanding the kind of questions that they're asking, and putting that kind of research insight onto your website will help you drive traffic to your website for that particular niche.
Okay. One of our participants offered that the correct name is Help a Reporter Out, H-A-R-O.
Yeah, I knew it was something close to that.
Okay, good. Thank you for that contribution. Our next question, is there any major difference in your overall advice and strategy for a service industry versus a product-oriented industry?
Well, with product-oriented, you do get the option to use some of those platforms like Etsy and Amazon and such, although they tend to be low margin platforms. I mean, you have to give a pretty good chunk of your revenue to them. So I would say, even if you're a product, try to get the website optimized so that you can drive traffic. But basically, the optimization of a website is agnostic. It doesn't matter whether you're a service or a nonprofit trying to get donations or a product-based company. People shop online, they search online. If you can understand how they search and what they're searching for, the information content that they're looking for, particularly in long tail search terms like, how do I do whatever? How do I fix whatever? How do I address my problem, right? However that's searched for. The longer the search term, the more specific the query, the more ability you have to come up in the search result if you understand what those questions are, because Google will see a piece of content that actually addresses that in the title, right? Put the title, the headline of that search term should be part of the structure of your posting, and Google will see that and then put you up in a search result. And the longer the search term, the more qualified that referral is in that search term on the website, because people are looking for answers to their questions. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What is the best strategy to get Google to index a new website fairly quickly? And also, is it a good idea to write articles on Medium or LinkedIn to drive traffic?
Yeah, so the first question is Google's has these things called bots, the little electronic robots that go out on the internet looking for internet website pages that they can index. But it takes time for them to search the whole internet, so to speak. So the best way to do that is to go into something called Google. Well, first you install Google Analytics on your website and get a UA code, or if it's a modern site, I would just jump to something called GA4, which is the new form of Google Analytics that's going to replace the UA code next year. And once you have your Google Analytics set up, then go in and create your Google Search Console, which is another part of the software on the back end. And in there, you can actually introduce a request in there to tell Google to please index my website. And another strategy is to create a Google My Business, a Google profile, Google Business Profile, which used to be called Google My Business Listing. And Google will say, oh, here's a new profile, a new business listing up here. We should, and the website is on there. Let's make sure that we've got it in our index too. So the second one that I just described is a perception. I don't have that as fact that they're doing that, but I believe that that is more likely to also help get the website indexed. And what was the second part of the question?
Is it a good idea to write articles on Medium or LinkedIn to drive traffic?
Yeah, so again, you should use as many platforms as you can. I mean, you can put articles on Reddit, and Quora, and other places where you can, as long as you put if the platform lets you make it a teaser post, right, which takes you to the website to read the whole article, is one strategy. If they don't let you do that, which many publications don't, they will allow you to put a profile of the author on there. And then in the profile, you can put a link to your website so people will know how to get to see more articles about you. So yes, publish, content, but it should be quality content, original quality content. As I mentioned earlier, if you try to post content and reuse the same content over and over again, Google's kind of missing it from a domain authority. But if some of those platforms like Medium have big followings, like Reddit has a very large following, then getting articles on there can get you read, even if that article was published somewhere else on the internet, right? So you might have had it as a blog somewhere, updated it, rewrote it, made it appropriate for that particular platform and republished it there, and that can still get you traffic to your website. So it's a good strategy to publish and post, publish and post.
All right, thank you, Kerry. One last comment is thanks for this terrific webinar.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the opportunity to share these insights. Some of them probably sounded like, well, I knew about that, or I've heard that before, or I do a little of that. But the takeaway here is I didn't present a strategy. I presented a holistic strategy that tries to think in terms of multi-channel, multi-strategies, online, offline, and personal, okay? So your marketing should incorporate all of those as an approach to driving as much traffic as you can. And put an offer out there. If you have additional questions, my contact information is there. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to give anybody on the webinar today a free 1-hour consultation to explore what you're doing and give you feedback on your strategies.
All right, thank you very much, Kerry. Got another thank you in the question. So we'll I'd like to run a poll here so you can give us feedback, and thank everyone for their attention. And in a couple parting slides from us from SCORE. a moment here. So for anyone who's interested in getting a remote mentoring session or in-person mentoring session from SCORE, here's our contact information. You can go to our website and request scheduling a mentor. We are doing in-person mentoring again now, and where that's available with the mentors. We also do most of our mentoring is available by video, so it makes it convenient no matter where you're located. We also will mentor by phone or by email if that works best for you. You can select the time or date. Additionally, you can always contact our office if you'd like help in scheduling or picking out a mentor. And here are our contact details, our email, and our website. Oh, thank you again for attending today's webinar. Thank you to Carrie for great content today. And you'll be getting a link to the video today's session later today, and information on future webinars will be coming your way. So again, we appreciate your responding to our poll before you head out the door. So thanks again.